taken on the following items at regular council meeting on Tuesday, September 10th, 2024, in council chambers, Sparta Township Municipal Building, 65 Main Street, Sparta, New Jersey. The time is 7:12. The town council has opened executive session and closed it. All council meetings are now live streamed and can be viewed at the following link: www.youtube.com/SpartaTWP-streams. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and the press on January 5th, 2024, by delivering to the press and posting on the township website a copy of the notice. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Quinn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Blumetti.
Here.
Mayor Clark.
Here. May we all stand and salute the flag, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, we have three proclamations, which is, as folks know, we do to recognize organizations and outstanding individuals in Sparta. And tonight, I'm very honored. People tell me sometimes, Neil, you need to stay off Facebook. Well, sometimes Facebook is very helpful because it's through Facebook that I learned about the 100th birthday of Carolyn Strombeck. And she was a kindergarten teacher for years and years at Helen Morgan. And that post generated over like 100 comments and 260 likes. And it was, if you want to really feel good about your community, just read those comments. The legacy she has given to and the benefit she's given to Sparta residents over the years and people sharing fond remembrances. If you're ever feeling bad about what you read on Facebook, go read that one, and you'll feel pretty darn good about your community and the people in it. So with that, I'm going to read the proclamation for Carolyn Strombeck. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and for a community which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experiences our seniors bring to all. And whereas Carolyn Strombeck will be celebrating with her friends and relatives on the occasion of her 100th birthday, which occurred on September 22nd, 2024. And whereas Carolyn was born in Sparta on September 22nd, 1924, Carolyn lived in Brooklyn, New York for 10 years before coming back to Sparta, where she has lived for the last 75 years. Her favorite memories of Sparta were going with her family to Sparta Glen for picnics by the brook and going to the beach in Lake Mohawk. Carolyn loved how Sparta was a small town where everyone knew one another. And whereas Carolyn attended Newark College and was a teacher at Helen Morgan School, she is a member of the Sparta Presbyterian Church and also the Sparta Women's Club. And whereas Carolyn enjoys spending time with her family, going for her daily walks, spending time in her garden, keeping her mind sharp with word search puzzles, and enjoys watching the Olympics. And whereas the Township of Sparta recognizes with respect and admiration the life of Carolyn Strombeck and would encourage all Spartans to send birthday wishes to Carolyn. Now therefore be it resolved that Township Council of the Township of Sparta does hereby deem it an honor and pleasure to extend this proclamation to Carolyn Strombeck on the occasion of her 100th birthday with sincere congratulations and best wishes for many more happy years. So thank you, Carolyn. Congratulations. I know we have a representative. Mr. Pedalino?
Yes.
Okay, so this is the gentleman who posted about his amazing neighbor.
I actually just need a picture of the mayor. Great. Actually,
No.
Mayor, would you mind if you stood here and everyone just happy birthday? That'd be awesome.
Okay.
That's all I need.
All right.
That'd be great.
We'll do it.
This is so great. Sparta's awesome. All right, here we go. Ready, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday, Karen. Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Thank you. Thank you for pointing this out to us. I really
Thank you.
appreciate
It's,
it.
it's going to be awesome.
And please send our best wishes to us. And
I will.
congratulations. Thank her for what she's done for our community.
Yeah, I mean, 30 years teaching all the kids that are writing, sending cards to me to give to her on the 22nd when we see her. So, this is great. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be an awesome meeting. I'd love to stay with you. Thanks again, everybody.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, for this next proclamation, Councilwoman Quinn and I had to kind of fight over it because I know she's a family friend. But I'm a track and field geek, having, competed in high school and college and still thought I could run like I was in 22 when I was 45. So, and I still, suffer from the delusion that I'm going to get faster one day. So anyway, it was amazing to hear about the accomplishments of this young woman. I think meet of champions, I always get it confused. That's basically the state championship meet, as I understand it, and state champion. And a state like New Jersey is no mean feat. It's a very competitive state, and for someone from Sparta to do that is just incredible. And so when I heard about this, I was like, we have to recognize this amazing young woman. And it's really a testament to the quality of coaches that we have, the people who push her. It's your competitors that help you achieve these high goals. And I'm just very honored to be able to read this proclamation for Isabella Frattura. Whereas Isabella Frattura, a junior at Sparta High School, has demonstrated exceptional skill, dedication, and sportsmanship as a member of the Sparta High School track team. And whereas on June 12, 2024, in Pennsauken High School, Isabella Frattura achieved a remarkable milestone by winning the New Jersey State Interscholastic Athletic Association Track and Field Meet of Champions. She achieved this with a throw of 139 feet, 3 inches in the final round to capture the Girls Javelin Award, showcasing her commitment, resilience, and outstanding athletic prowess. And whereas Isabella is not only a champion in track and field, but is also a scholar. While she takes honors in advanced placement classes, she is also a National Honor Society inductee and the president of the National Honor Society in Science. Isabella has set a stellar example of balancing athletic dedication with academic excellence. And whereas Isabella's exceptional talent and hard work has earned her national recognition, being ranked as undefeated in 2024 and is ranked top 50 overall in the nation. Isabella is also ranked number 15 in the nation for the class of 2025 in javelin, as well as being Sparta High School's record holder for the javelin. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of Sparta of the Township of Sparta does hereby congratulate Isabella Frattura on her outstanding achievements and as an exemplary member of our community. Her achievements in track and field, academics, and leadership service serve as an inspiration to us all. Congratulations, Isabella. Come on down. You want to come down? Sure. So I saw your stats on like mile split, and I was like, she's going to be a heptathlete one day. So they're going to probably recruit you wherever you go. I expect you'll probably be a heptathlete at some point, which is what like 6 events because you do long jump and yeah. So congratulations, that's so amazing.
Come on in.
Yeah, come on in.
Come on in, Mom.
Yeah, mom and dad. You get to hold this. That's yours. Yeah.
So proud of you.
Congratulations to you, and I'm sure she thanks you for all the driving and practices and everything else you had to do.
Thank you. Appreciate it. right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Sure, have a great meeting. Thank you for supporting her.
That's nice.
We have one more proclamation that Councilwoman Quinn will read.
So I have the honor of reading the proclamation for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month. And with us is Andy Lopez. And this is something very important to him, and he has been a champion of this in our town for the past several years. When you're driving up and down Main Street, you'll see the teal bows that are on the poles, and they are a direct tie-in to this. So this is to drive awareness to ovarian cancer, which is a cause that is very near and dear to his heart. So whereas ovarian cancer claims more women's lives than any other gynecological cancer, and the American Cancer Society estimates that in 2024, over 19,680 women will actually be diagnosed with ovarian cancer, and approximately, and very unfortunately, 12,740 will perish from the disease. Whereas ovarian cancer is difficult to detect due to vague symptoms and the lack of a reliable early detection test, most women are not diagnosed until stage 3 or later, when the cancer has already spread to the lymph nodes and outside of the pelvis. And whereas an early diagnosis of ovarian cancer can increase the survival rate to as high as 93%. And certain factors can reduce the risk of ovarian cancer and play an important role in its prevention and awareness, studies have shown that early detection is the best means of protecting women's lives from this disease. Whereas the Township Council further wishes to recognize the family and friends of these brave women who continue to support them as they battle valiantly against this disease. And we also wish to honor the women who fought with a warrior spirit against ovarian cancer, but have sadly lost that fight. Now therefore be it resolved that the Township Council of the Township of Sparta hereby proclaims September as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in Sparta Township, and the council encourages all of its citizens, government agencies, private businesses, nonprofit organization, and other interested groups to join in to increase awareness of what Americans can do to prevent, detect, and beat cancer to live a longer, healthier, and more productive life. So with that said, I would like to call up Andy Lopez to accept the proclamation. Come in. Thank you again. And if you want to say a couple of words.
Yeah, sure, I will. Just very briefly, I want to thank the town council again.
Use the microphone, please. Yeah.
I got it. I don't know how to use one of these. I want to thank the town council and everybody here on staff for always supporting our initiative. I was actually trying to think back how many years we've been doing this specifically in Sparta. It's got to be close to 10. My family's been doing it in other towns we've lived in for as long as this program has been running. I think it's year 16 now. But it's just so important, raising awareness for, as you said, the symptoms, which are so subtle, and sometimes it's just about starting a conversation and getting people the resources that they need. There are many programs available for families who may have just been recently diagnosed, and there's information on the ribbons, websites and things like that. So we're just proud to be a part of it and thankful that we have such a supportive town to do this in. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our regular agenda. I know that I'm happy to have our students here, but you can feel free to get back to your homework. As a stepfather to a senior and a sophomore at Sparta, I know there's a lot of work to be done, so thank you for coming out. Yeah. All right, we're going to move on to our regular agenda. I know that I'm happy to have our students here, but you can feel free to get back to your homework. As a stepfather to a senior and a sophomore at Sparta, I know there's a lot of work to be done, so thank you for coming out.
9 o'clock.
All right, we're at the approval of minutes section of our meeting tonight. May I have a motion to approve the June 25th, 2024 regular meeting minutes as presented?
I move that we approve the regular meeting minutes of June 25th, 2024 as presented.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 The minutes for June 25th, 2024 have been approved. Manager Zepp, may I have your manager's report?
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Sparta residents. Please take notice our Sparta Library has gone back to their regular hours as of September 7th. Please visit spartalibrary.com for their hours as well as all programs and events they offer for the public to enjoy. Our Public Works Department has upgraded the disintegrating retaining wall at the library building by the Recreation Office entrance. I take pride in our departments working together in accomplishing projects in-house as everyone benefits from this work. The Public Works 2024 road improvement plan is almost complete, with 4 miles of roadway being paved on 15 township roads. The remaining roads that are in process of being paved include Cherry Tree Lane, West Cherry Tree Lane, Hilltop Trail, Columbus Road, and Station Road. Our Recreation Department has announced that they have expanded their popular annual Trunk or Treat to a full-day harvest festival for the whole family to enjoy at White Lake Fields, formerly Station Park, on Saturday, October 26th. The event includes food trucks, various craft vendors, kids zones with fun activities, and a live music lineup. For more information, please visit our website for the Recreation Fall Program brochure. The Sparta seniors are getting ready for their next Senior Olympics being held in Randolph Township on Wednesday, September 18th. We wish them good luck. The Sparta Township Fire Headquarters has completed the conversion to natural gas. This includes 4 boilers and kitchen appliances, which should result in cost savings for the town. As you may be aware, Provident Bank has taken over Lakeland Bank, and I would like to thank Dawn Crumford, our municipal treasurer, for putting in the extra hours in ensuring that the transfers of several township accounts went smoothly. This concludes my report. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Sparta residents. I also would mention that Chief McCarrick is at back-to-school night tonight, so he will not be giving a report.
He's excused. May I have a motion to accept the manager's report?
I'll make a motion that we accept the manager's report.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The manager's report is approved. Just one question about the Station Park repaving. Do you have any idea when that will be done? I know I've gotten some people who said, well, the bridge is closed and you just cut off my alternative means of getting around it. And so,
Well, actually, that doesn't get around. This is Station Road, right? Right behind there. We're trying to take advantage of the warm weather, and we're tag teaming it with also the paving with the Lake Mohawk roads. And so we're shooting for mid-October right now.
okay. All right.
They use the same company. Yeah. But other.
All right, we are now at the first public comment period. This is limited to items that are not on the agenda, so if you see the item on the agenda and want to talk about it, now's not the time to do it. But if there are items that are not on the agenda, I'd ask that you please come to the microphone and state your name, address, and please be cognizant of the 5-minute limit. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I'm Barbara Gomes. I'm at Lynx Court in Sparta. I just wanted to make sure that you guys know about this opportunity. The screening of the Highlands Rediscovered is going to happen on October 10th, right across the street at the VFW Hall. And we're actually going to have the policy director of the Highlands Coalition give that screening and also be around to answer questions. Also, the executive director of the Highlands Coalition will be there. As one of the 88 municipalities in the Highlands region, I think it will be a really nice opportunity for us all to learn together how important that is and how to govern that special environmental resource. So I hope to see you guys there. I'll follow up with an email as well, since 2 of the council members are not here, but.
So, quick question.
Yep.
It's just hard for me to hear you from there.
I
So,
know.
It's called The Highlands Rediscovered.
Yes, it's a PBS documentary, actually.
Okay.
And I believe Rutgers was also involved in putting that together.
And you said it's 10th of October,
It's the 10th of October. It's a Thursday evening. It starts
What
at
time?
6:30.
6:30.
Yep. And we'll have like a little mingle, and then we'll probably start the film at 7, and then there'll be time for questions and answers after.
I just want to make sure I got the information right.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's the same documentary that you showed last year, and I highly recommend it to anyone. You'll learn a lot about the region that you live in, and have like an appreciation for just when you look out and see the mountains and the trees, and that wasn't always the case. I think I recall there's a part of that documentary that talked about in like the 1800s when they had to, all the forging mills, and they had to clear cut a ton of the
Yes, we've
the
taken
forest.
down the forest one time already, so we want to pay attention to it this time. But yes, it is the same documentary. It is a free event, and it is open to the public. We're inviting our neighbors from other towns as well, are welcome to join.
You
Great.
said it's at the VFW, right?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, thank you,
you.
Barbara. Thank you. Any other person wishing to be heard on an item that's not on the agenda? Seeing no one, we will move on to the expenditures. Deputy Mayor, would you please read the expenditures for September 10th, 2024?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the expenditures for September 10th, 2024 in the amount of $367,138.56.
I will, did you make the motion?
I did.
Okay, I'll second the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The expenditures for September 10th, 2024 are approved. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title of ordinance 2414?
An ordinance amending Chapter 7, Traffic of the Revised General Ordinances of the Township of Sparta, amending Section 7-13, Parking Prohibited at All Times on Certain Streets.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2414?
I
May I have a second, please?
will second.
And before we go to roll call, Jim, if you would just tell us the genesis of this ordinance?
Yeah, we're working closely with Kurt Morris, our traffic director, on this. These 3 roads are up there in North Village. They're in the single-family home area, and it's very congested there, and there's been a lot of complaints about the parking being staggered on the roads, and it makes it very difficult to navigate. So we had the assessment done by Corporal Morris, and he recommended that we post signs of parking only on one side of the street. So this ordinance denotes which side of the street you can park on, and it gives them enforcing abilities once the ordinance is adopted.
So there'll still be parking for the streets identified in the ordinance, but only one side will be
Correct.
prohibited. So it's not like you can't park anywhere on that street. You just can't park on where you see a sign that says no parking?
Correct.
Is that right? Okay, got it. All right, with that, any other questions from council on ordinance 2414? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call, please?
Councilwoman Quinn.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Blumetti.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. Ordinance 2414 is introduced. We are now at the hearing portion of an ordinance. Madam Clerk, could you please read ordinance 2413?
An ordinance of the Township of Sparta adopting Chapter 8 of the Township Code, filming.
Okay, and is there anyone from the public wishing to be heard about ordinance 2413? All right, seeing none, I'll take it back to council for discussion and comments, and I think Mr. Councilman Blumetti had some discussion and comments.
Yes, thank you. I'd like to propose 3 minor non-material cleanup edits, and I would ask Mr. Ryan to jump in if these become material where we need to reintroduce it. That's not my intention, but if we can do a couple cleanups, I'd like to propose those for consideration. The first one is on page 2, at the very bottom, so we're talking section 8.3, letter E. Just for consistency's sake with the rest of the lettered items in that paragraph, I'd like to propose that we start letter E just the title of it, with applicant shall provide, and then proof of insurance coverage as follows. The second one is also just for clarity's sake. It's on page 3. Again, it's still section 8.3, but this is letter G, right in the middle of the page. I would like to propose, just for strengthening this, that we say the permit holder shall hire an off-duty police officer. And then the third item and last item is right under that, section 8.4, letter A. The second sentence, which is right in the middle of that paragraph, talks about the permit holder shall post signs in advance of the filming, advising the public of the filming time and location. I'd like to propose that we add a number of days in advance or some time frame in there so that the community and neighbors could know about the filming time and location.
Just tell me where you are again, I'm sorry.
Page 3, section 8.4, letter A. Yeah, second sentence in that letter A, it says permit holder shall post signs in advance of the filming advising the public. So I'd like to put out there that can we specify a number of days in advance? And
Would that, I don't think that would be a material change if we put just the days. I think 3 days would be adequate.
Yeah, I
Okay.
do not do that.
If we could, I think the permit holder shall post signs and then insert 3 days in advance of the filming of.
Are these actual physical signs?
Yeah, there'll be every production company comes with, their own signs of, you'll see this a lot of times in New York, where on a street, they'll say, do not park between the hours of 8 and 6 because there's filming. And so it's sort of, they'll be provided usually by the production company, so it wouldn't be something that we would have to do.
So if they're filming on a residential road, it's very likely that, so I guess my question in this same thing, I agree with adding the 3 days, but I'm a little, I have questions around the signs. So first of all, some of the HOAs don't allow signs to go up. So I guess my question is, how, in general, if they're filming in a residential area, let's say, how are residents maybe within 200 feet or right around where filming is going to happen, how are they notified? Do they get a letter? Do they get something, or do they just show up one night at midnight and there's a film crew in their neighbor's house and they just don't know? You know
No,
what I'm saying?
I think they would have signs, and I think, they would work with the HOA and say, I understand you have a sign ordinance or, restrictions on it. We're going to put these signs and we'll take them down. I've known them, in discussions with them, they literally will go house to house.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
I'm looking for.
Yeah,
So
they'll.
just so the neighboring, if it's in a residential place, that the resident doesn't just come home.
No.
They can't get in their driveway, or something's going on at midnight.
Yeah, and
The other thing is the film companies wouldn't know that if they maybe pick a particular area, maybe at Sparta Lake or, one of the beaches in like Saginaw, for example, they might not know it's private. So what I'm saying is, who tells them, how do they know? The contact, like would Roxanne say, is it Jim's responsibility or Roxanne say, okay, well, now you need to go to the board of Saginaw Lake or the board of Sparta Lake or the board of, like, how will the film crew know where they're supposed to go to get the permission?
So
to do
that
this?
would occur because once they tell us they want to come in to Sparta, under the ordinance, the township manager, someone from the film committee, someone from council, also would be brought in, and we would tell them that before,
Okay.
we can't issue a permit until you have sign off by Lake Mohawk that they're going to be okay with you putting a sign up or filming here, et cetera. So we still have the ability that, there'll be notice and there'll be ways that a lot of that is a burden put on the production company, but they're well familiar with having all the hoops they have to jump through in towns.
Okay.
I would just note also in section 8-4B, it provides that the written notice be given to any businesses and residents that will be impacted by the.
Perfect.
Yeah. So with that being said, I'd like to make a motion that we amend this with these minor changes just to add clarity and specificity. So those three
Okay.
revisions that I proposed.
So may I have a motion to make the amendments to 2413 as suggested by Councilman Blumetti?
So moved?
May I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, now I'll make a motion to, oh,
I have another.
okay.
I have another question. So people have been filming here for years and years and years and years. So one of the things that really makes me happy about this is that now people are gonna have to just tell us that they're here via filing for a permit. So in looking at section 811 with the fees, I just want to make sure we have everything covered. So it's clear whether you are a major motion that's listed in here, and it kind of breaks down all these different ordinances, but just to be clear, I think we need to do some kind of communication also to the, second note, I think we need to do some kind of really great communication in the town. Maybe we could work with Jenny and get stuff on our website so people understand like what this is and where they can get more information. But I just want to make sure also, I know I spoke to Jim, and the goal is to have something electronic put in place before this takes effect, which would be 21 days after if we agree to move forward with it and adopt it tonight, it would still take 21 days for it to take effect. So I think I just cannot stress the importance. I've spoken to numerous colleagues across the state of New Jersey that are either looking at this policy or have implemented a film-ready policy, and they all said the same thing. It is critical to have the forms and the mechanisms in place before go live. So hopefully, I know you're already looking at it.
Yeah, Roxanne's been doing a lot of
Okay.
legwork on that. I give.
Yeah, and
kudos.
you know, and there actually is a film committee meeting tomorrow, and I know that the film commission knows that's 12 communities, I think, have already done this. And so we can find out who has the best practices. And, you know, you can probably crib from them that they have an electronic form, and then we can put the tech people together from the municipality that's done it in a way that we like, and get that done pretty quickly, I think.
Because the thing is, we're requiring so many additional pieces of information. What I'm trying to avoid is putting more stress on Roxanne to now have to say, come in here and give me this piece of paper, come in here and give me a copy of this, fax me that, email me that, blah, blah, blah. No, just have everything available in the electronic form. And I think I sent some examples as well when we were talking about the short-term rental ordinance. There are some municipal things, but I just want to make sure that you are prepared so that you don't get flooded with requests and things like that. We could just direct people to where the form is on the website. All the directions are there. Everything that they need can be itemized easily and quickly. That helps them and it helps you. So I
Yeah.
just want to stress that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point, and I believe like the technology exists so that the applicant will be prevented from submitting an incomplete application. So it's like we've all filled out these forms where we forget to put our social security number, and it says, you're not done yet, and you keep having to go back. And I think we can build that into it to where, hey, you haven't given us the proof of insurance, so your application hasn't come in. And so there's a way to build whatever the requirements are in here so that that submission, when you get it, you know that the computer program has identified that it's a complete application, and there's not stuff missing, you know, including fees, including proof of insurance, other things. So with that, I will make a motion that we approve ordinance 2413.
I will second.
All right. Madam Clerk, may you have a roll call, please?
Councilman Quinn,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Blumetti?
Yes.
Mayor Clark?
Yes, 2413 has passed. And we are now at our second public comment period. This is limited to the resolutions. Again, please state your name for the record, and also please be cognizant of the 5 minutes. Also, I'll let you know that we will not, again, not be considering Resolution 9-3 tonight.
Did you do that on purpose? No. So I can't ask questions about 9-3?
Yeah, because it's just, we don't have the full Sparta Council here, and given that 2 of those are also on committees, we thought it was probably best to have it considered when we have the full Sparta Council here, because they may have input into the code of conduct, et cetera.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, before, if I may, I'll make a motion that we table 9-3 right now, and that'll officially get it off the agenda for tonight's discussion.
Okay, so we have a motion to table Resolution 9-3. May I have a second?
Yeah, if necessary, yes.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, 9-3 has been tabled until such time as we have the full complement of council members.
Jenny Darks, Happiness Sparta. I appreciate the moves you just made. However, the information that is the code of conduct that says in the resolution attached is not attached.
Yeah.
So will the public have the opportunity to see that? Especially public who are on these committees will have the opportunity to see that before the next meeting when this is back on the agenda?
Yeah, that's also another very good reason. And then, yes, we'll make sure that when it does become an item that will be discussed on agenda, the public will have an opportunity to look at the code of conduct.
Thank you, Jenny. That was one of my 2 questions on 9-3. No worries. So the other one I had, Kathy Ebbinghausen, Scudder's Road, was around 9-4. And the question I have is the reason for the resolution. Is there a specific matter that we need special counsel for? Or is this a general, or is it both?
The flag, flying of the flag?
No, 9-4,
9-4.
we're,
Conflict counsel.
yeah, conflict counsel. It's the
Zoning
same
board.
conflict counsel that we have now. And I think my understanding is that in anticipation of another matter where there's a conflict, the same counsel that's handling the current one is going to be handling this one. Am I right about that?
I believe so.
Yeah.
So there's a need for a second conflict counsel?
It's the
Is that
same
what you're
conflict
saying?
counsel we have. They just have it, they're now responsible for additional matter. What that additional matter is, I do not know yet. And I don't know if anyone knows what that is.
I can't
Yeah.
clarify for you
Isn't
on
the
that.
conflict council, I'm confused on this ordinance as well, because in the beginning of the year, in the reorganization meeting, normally each of the boards, they don't only take action to secure their professionals, all their professionals and their members. And part of the membership should be the conflict council. So if we're using the same exact conflict council that's already in place, that person should have already been agreed to at the reorg meeting of the zoning board in January. So the question that I think is valid is, if this is the same person, did something happen at the zoning meeting and they were not formally chosen or selected as conflict counsel for 2024, which is why we have to do it now? Because.
As I understand it, and the manager certainly can correct me if I understand it incorrectly, another matter had conflict counsel appointed last year, but there was not for 2024
Okay.
a conflict counsel appointed, and this comes as a request from the zoning board of adjustment, and it's simply the council confirming the appointment, the selection by the zoning board of adjustment.
Mr.
Okay.
Ryan, can you use the microphone, please?
That makes sense.
Right, it's a catch-up.
So not a specific matter?
Not a specific matter to my understanding. This is a request that comes from the zoning board of adjustment for the appointment of conflict counsel. And as the mayor indicated, It's the same conflict counsel that was utilized in 2023.
So it sounds like he's been a holdover, but it has not been formalized that he is going to be the counsel of record for 2024.
And there's
So
two
they're doing it
individuals
now.
named, and both are, there, I believe there are two individuals named in the resolution, and both are existing conflict counsel?
Part of the same firm, I believe.
Yeah, the law firm is Mariziti Falcon, and the attorney identified is Elise Landano Hubbard.
Oh, okay, sorry, I didn't understand the difference. Okay, thank you. Thanks for clarifying.
Sure. Anyone else wishing to be heard on the resolutions? Okay. I think I will make a motion that we approve resolutions 9-1, 9-2, and 9-4.
I will second.
And
Sorry, Dean.
yeah, that's fine. I think Dean was the second. He got it in. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So resolutions 9-1, 9-2, and 9-4 have been approved. May I have a motion to approve resolution 9-5?
I move that we approve Resolution 9-5.
I will second it. And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And,
Abstain.
okay. So we have, for resolution 9-5, we have 2 ayes and 1 abstention. Just a point of order. Given that we only have 2 ayes and 1 abstention, are we going to have to put this
For
back
this
on
type
this?
of matter, I believe it's appropriate for the majority of council present since we have a forum.
Okay.
Ordinarily, if it was an ordinance, for example, the 2 votes would not be adequate, but for a resolution of this nature, I believe it is
Okay.
appropriate.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are now at the council liaison update portion of the meeting, and I will start to my left with Councilwoman Quinn. Do you have any council liaison updates?
I do. So the Municipal Alliance meeting was postponed. We had a little bit of conflict with it being the first week back, and the lion's share of membership are representatives of the schools. So there were a lot of conflicts, so we moved that meeting to later in September. I want to talk about recreation. So as you know, we have been going back and forth with this list, and we were asked to come back with an itemized listing, a prioritized item of listing of the different projects and initiatives outside of those that we have identified as being long-term, significant money, and possibly those that would be bonded, like what we recommended for the community center, like large projects like that. So what I'm going to talk to tonight, the council's requested multiple times that we come back with a list of the projects that we've kind of identified as being at the top of the reports that we have submitted to multiple times. And I just wanted to take a minute to go through those, just in the interest of transparency, and so that we can get moving forward with the rec department, and DPW can move forward with these projects. So, oh, sorry. Usually people don't tell me they can't hear me. I don't want to scream into this thing and blast everybody. Is this better? If it's too loud, let me know. So we, last meeting, we all agreed that we move forward with returfing the Ungerman Field, which was one of the big things because it was a safety issue. Also on the list that we've identified as a high priority is replacing the pavilion in the Glen. And also, even though it's a high-ticket item, and I don't recommend that, obviously we need significant funds to do this, but I don't want it to go by the wayside. The lights on the new fields at White Lake are critical for field usage, as we heard the other day as well. So at some point, that really, for the council, when we're looking at budgets and bondings and things of that nature, I think that's something that really needs to happen then. But as we've talked about, Neil, as you know, in the meetings that we've had, this has been identified over and over again, and not just for the sports that are played on that field, but also the path forward is to extend the walking path around those fields. so that we can get over a mile. I think Jean, what did she say? I think it was like 1.75 miles or something, a mile
Right
and a
now,
half.
it's 1,200 meters, so which is
Right.
3/4 of a mile.
Then that's only half. So the plan is to extend that path, so it would be the circle that it is now, and then also go out and around the new fields that were added.
Got it, okay.
So, in the interest of safety, it's a good idea to have lights there, so that if people are using it on a nice summer night or whatnot also. So there's many reasons for that, but that's something we have to talk about later. Also, pickleball courts are something that's really big. We really want to add them. Jean's identified the space for those at White Lake. So that's something that we think is really a huge benefit for the community. It's very difficult to find places to put pickleball courts because they're very loud, so they really can't go near any kind of residential properties whatsoever. So up at White Lake is really the perfect place for them. Also, walking paths, so we decided that we wanted to start in a partnership with the schools. We're going to be reaching out to them to identify a connection point between the middle school and the high school. And that's also for safety reasons, because the kids right now are going up and down West Mountain. And I mean, this has been going on since my kids have been going to school there, and I never understood how there wasn't another option. So we're really looking at, as the first trail for safety reasons, is connecting, going from the middle school to the high school, and that would be courtesy of through probably somewhere Feldner along the way, so that the kids could be off the road altogether. Also, the cross-country trails, we've had some discussions about that. I know Jean's been working and in discussions with the schools as well there for our portion of the trails, so that they can be better utilized. Also, at White Lake, the storage facility, I believe, is going to be going up to handle the equipment.
In process.
Which is a great thing, because it will actually take away from the wear and tear on dragging our equipment all over the place, for it to be able to be stored there to maintain all of the assets that we have there. I mentioned the expansion of the walking trail around the new area of the park. Also, in some of our pocket parks, for example, Edison Park, there are some lower, we've done a lot of upgrades, the parks and DPW have done a lot of upgrades in these parks, but some of it included taking old assets out, so now there's no assets there. So, for example, in Edison Park, the request is to put up a small pavilion and tables and a kick and hitting wall up there. All of that is under $10,000, but worth it to the residents of Sparta who can use that. At Memorial, the request was put in to fix the basketball area and also to a walking trail, put in a walking trail that would go around it. One thing that needs to happen sooner rather than later, even though it's a little bit pricey, is the removal of the Fisher Building and the replacement of it into a pavilion, and that's for safety reasons also. I think we can all appreciate that building needs to go. And we've been told that as long as we don't change the blueprint of what is there, if down the road it was decided to put up another structure, as long as the blueprint remains, a replacement structure should be put there. But in the meantime, a pavilion would go there to take place. So now that space could be utilized as a source of shelter and shade down at the park. And also at Tyler Park, we wanted to put in a small pavilion and tables there. We identified that on the list. And also upgrading of the basketball nets and the stanchions. And again, that's under $10,000. So these are the projects that have been identified multiple times by our work with the Rec Advisory Committee in connection with, obviously, Jean and the Rec Department that do an outstanding job of bringing all these things forward. And these also, I had said we were holding off on bringing this forward until we got the results of the survey that came out. And I think that we are in alignment. If we look at the first quality of life survey that was done in 2020, that had about 1,800 responses, and the one that was just done that had about 340 responses, I think all of the things that we are requesting fall in what people are looking for. So I just wanted to formally close that loop because I know it's been asked of us several times, so that's that. And that is what's going on at the Rec Advisory Committee. And with regard to the Salute 07871 Committee, I just wanted to bring up the fact, I know I've had numerous discussions with you about this, Jim, as well. I'm really disappointed that we're not having a 9/11 memorial here at Town Hall. We have a beautiful area in the front of the building. We have a beautiful tribute. And so I've had numerous discussions with Jim and also with Pete Litchfield. And moving forward, we're going to work together between the Salute 07871 Committee and the Township to try to host that ceremony on site here at Town Hall on September 11th. So hopefully, I just wanted to bring that forward. That was a big topic of discussion over the past few weeks. And with regard to the Health Committee, we have had a lot of reports coming back and forth. I think Steve Levinson is doing a wonderful job of sifting through everything.
Yes.
I can't express in words how many reports we have received and how many applications have been put in for septics, for example, that we're going through, but also all the beaches in town. People don't realize how many beaches there are, and we get all the reports. And I go through them, but Steve goes through them with a whole different lens, follows up on every single thing, and it's just really critical to the health and well-being of our citizens to know that we have Steve there with his experience, really challenging some of the reports that are coming back, asking follow-up questions, and making sure that the entities on the beaches, for example, through town, are taking the proper precautions to notify the residents and to close the beaches when they need to be closed. So I just want to really give a shout out to Steve Levinson for all the work that he has done.
I agree with you. He's a big help.
And those are my updates.
Thompson and Blue Betty.
So a couple updates on the planning board. We met on September 4th. During that meeting, we heard 3 applications. 2 of them were completed, Willow Tree Therapy and Admiral Metals. Both of those were approved. And then the third one was Brandstone, that was partially heard and carried to October 7th meeting. Second is the Master Plan Subcommittee. It met again last night. Work continues on refining and finalizing the community survey. Before that, though, we're expected to launch in about 2 weeks the community website hub. So everyone can start learning more about the master plan, how it works, what the outreach will be, the committees, look at old master plans, et cetera. So that's expected in about 2 weeks. That's all I have for my updates. I would just want to make, a comment or two on the Recreation Committee update and all the ideas that came out of that. I guess the Trails Committee is just getting up and running, I believe, right, and just getting started. So I think that is part of the Recreation Committee. There we'll have to figure out when the Trail Committee gets together and starts doing their work that this syncs up with what they're seeing
So
too.
I reached out to Landon, and we've had several discussions. I also reached out to the county. So I'm going to the Board of Directors meeting for the Rails to Trails to go forward representing Sparta to say, hey, we're interested. But as Landon and I had talked about, a lot of the Rails to Trail initiative in and of itself connects all these trails. I think it's across like 9 municipalities. So really, when you're looking at where you want to make those investments, you really want to make sure that the people on either side of you, the municipalities in either side of you, are on board. Because you putting the money into a tract of property to make it a trail with the intention it's going to connect all the way through Kittatinny and everywhere else will not work if the next 2 towns are not on board. So Landon and I have had multiple conversations about the proper place that this trail committee should really be, like where is the best place? And it definitely needs to have a tie-in to the overall plan. I think this trail that we are talking about, we are talking about doing outside of that committee because that committee isn't fully together and meeting yet. And isn't defined yet, but we want to take the lead and not leave this opportunity out. So we don't want to waste or wait. We'd rather get going now, have the discussions. And then I think what you're looking at with the trail committee is more of the rails to trail, the larger campaign. That seems to be like all the different things that go on. But really, again, I'm very nervous until I know where our colleagues on either side, where our neighbors stand on, are they going to be willing to make these investments as well, so that you have exactly what you intend, rather than just pieces of trails all over Sparta that we invest in, but then they don't connect to anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's just a question, and it's just an ongoing as it gets built.
Yeah, I think
So
it depends on the
that
scope of the
meeting's
Trails
in
Committee.
October.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And I would add a little different wrinkle on one thing you said, that I think the Trails Committee can build trails within Sparta to connect up to existing trail networks, right? Not necessarily relying on our neighboring towns to do more work, but the ones that are there already, make sure
The
we can
ones that are
connect to
there.
those. And, is
Yes.
there already a network around us that we just need to plug into? I think that's also part of what they're going to do.
Right.
The other point is the open space plan. I know that the survey came in, but I know that there's a lot of work underway to finalize the open space and recreation plan. I do know that's at more of a macro level, but it could have some input and some valuable direction on some of these ideas as well. So I would just say that we keep that in mind, that that's still ongoing. And then the final comment is.
Wait a minute, just real quickly, I just want to let you know too, in 2020, we did a professional review of all of our recreation and open space. And we did that with our professionals in 2020. So we have that already. I gave, as a matter of fact, I gave a copy of that to you the other day, so.
Well, it hasn't been publicized yet, but
Yeah, but this is more comprehensive, right? A
Have
real
you
true
seen the
open space
20
and recreation plan.
Have you seen the 2020 report?
I
that
haven't
was
yet,
done?
no.
Right, so I don't think you can just say that it's more comprehensive, because this one is pretty comprehensive. I think you should look at it, is what I'm saying, because we did just go through this whole thing with our professionals in 2020.
Okay.
So-
I'd be curious to see if it's apples to apples
So-
from, professionals outside of our own inside people
That's why
doing
I'm
it.
saying it.
Yeah,
Yep.
but either way, it should link up with that, right? It should
Yeah.
sync up with that. The final thing too is lots of great ideas here. Probably goes without saying that this is a long list of investment decisions and prioritization amongst all of us, and a lot of budget dollars that are going to be needed for this over the coming years, right? It's not going to be 3 months or even 1 year. This is a lot of work here to be done, including some big items. So we'll need to figure out what the process is for that. Is this a part of first quarter next year of budget planning? Is this figure out how all this gets funded, right? And how this gets prioritized with other needs that we might have.
Some of
One
that-
small comment is I do see in your list you highlighted a concentration of maybe a third of this, or maybe even half, or a third maybe, around White Lake Field. I would just be curious to make sure we're spending our dollars spread out across the whole township property, so that people who can't get there or aren't interested in that field, maybe in that facility, that they have other places to go and use. I know you did mention some other pockets, so I just want to make sure that that's prioritized as well.
We mentioned, so specifically, down at Ungerman, you're talking about taking down a building, putting in a pavilion, changing a turf field, and adding trails, and adding a walking trail. That's down at Ungerman. Then we have at Station, a brand new playground going in there, for example, that we got the grant monies for.
Right.
Then you have at White Lake, then you also have Tyler, Edison. So I think I've gone through a pretty comprehensive list where we're trying to equally distribute the assets, the funding. Some of these things are already in the budget for the capital plan, so some of these things already, and some of them, for example, the turf field, that money was already in the budget last year. It just was not used. So those funds are not coming out of this budget. As I also mentioned, some of the larger items, for example, lights on White Lake and some of the larger lifts, in all of the Excel spreadsheets that I had provided to you guys, the first two had the prices. So for the larger ticket items, some of those, like the lights, that's going to be $500,000 to $1 million. Obviously, that's not coming out of the rec budget. That's going to have to be something that we look at as far as are we bonding or what's going on, but it's been identified. In the other Excel spreadsheet that you were all provided as well, in all of these fields, it shows the funding sources, so it says if it's future, if it's in progress. So for example, a lot of the small pavilions and tables, what I mentioned, Edison Park, Tyler, that funding's already in progress. So that's not something that we need to worry about. It's already happening. Or it'll say future. The other thing is every member of council has the ability to use the drop-down menus provided if you would like to reorder the importance. But this is what the Rec Advisory Committee has identified as the most important things that are within reach to get done in a reasonable amount of time with, in most cases, the funding that's already available and been allotted.
So all these items, the high profile ones you mentioned, with the exception of the lights, I think you said, right, are all would typically be expected to be in the annual budgets?
Well, I don't know if they would typically be expected to be, but a lot of these where you see, for example, in progress, or it says in 2024, if you look at the Excel spreadsheet, you could see what funding is already partially funded, what is going to have to be planned for down the future. And then in the entire beginning of it, where you see future with the larger ticket items, that's all things that we're going to have to worry about moving forward, whether it's a bond that we might need for the updates that we want to make at White Lake, because that's very expensive to put those lights in. But some of the things, a lot of the things, because we have an outstanding Parks and Rec department and DPW department, the great news is a lot of people don't know that path that goes around White Lake right now, that was done internally by our guys.
We did that.
You know, so we didn't have to go out. We didn't have to spend a fortune. We can do a lot of these things ourselves. So although it sounds like it might be something that's pricey, if we use our internal resources and the equipment that we have, it's really not. So I do think, though, pickleball is something that we need to talk about as that's a high priority. Jim, I just need you and Jean to level set on if that money is already available in the budget for this year through the recreation budget. That was the only question mark, because that's a sort of a larger ticket item with a high priority.
Talk to Jean about that. She's.
Okay. And then lastly, I do want to thank Jim. He got back to me with an online way to look at all the open space, Dean, that we have identified on those 2 pages of 10 acres or more. So the other thing the rec department, the rec advisory committee is looking at is identifying these spaces that the township already owns that we can do some additional stuff with moving forward. And Jim was able to get me access to a computer program where I could put in the block and lot and see, for example, is it accessible from the road? You know, because if it's a lot we own that's buried in the middle of something, it doesn't do us any good. So we're going to go down that list. I'm going down that list now, painfully, but going. Good for you. Just to identify 10 acres or more that have street accessibility and potential for parking. And so we're going to be looking at recycling some of those properties to add additional things.
Yeah. I would just share a different view on that. I appreciate the effort to identify those. I would say that we want to look at each one carefully and say maybe it just needs to be trees and open space, or a park with just some benches and not necessarily a built-out new recreation facility, right? I mean, we have to have a balance.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay,
That's
okay.
what we're saying. No, we don't want to make these, no. It's just to say, could we use this for a recreational purpose? And what could we do? Do we put mulch in? Can we make a quick trail through this? Is it
Yeah.
something like that?
Something low impact.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That's all I had, my comments for that, for now.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
Okay. So yeah, before I get to my council updates with respect to the rec, I think you summarized it very well. I know, I think there are some, I don't know if I would even consider it a big ticket item, the kind of low-hanging fruit with Station Park. You know, there's existing trails there, and the idea, I know there's a portion of it that the school has jurisdiction over, and we'll be working with them to build, you know, so that there is a course that that Sparta High School can use for its cross-country meets, and then, you know, it will also double as a 5K walking path or course that people can use, because the idea is, so there are trails there, they just haven't been well maintained over time. Let's get them maintained. I know that I've been on them recently. There's actually, there's new wood chips on some places, not in others. So the idea really is to make those and then let the public know that they're there. So they're not always walking up and down the street, particularly when there's a lacrosse game, a soccer game, a baseball game, and there's cars coming everywhere. If we can get people on the trails away off the street, it's probably a good safety measure as well. And then with respect to the Trails Committee, it's sort of a twofold thing. One is, yes, there are Sparta trails, and the first order of business will, if that Sparta trail connects up to an existing trail, let's focus on that. The next is, what trails are through Sparta that we could go and allow, and it would connect to another town, so that would, it would require the other town to also get on board. So those are two distinct things, and that will be the sort of job of the Sparta Trails Committee to identify those and then to, to figure that out. So we'll be meeting this month. I just have to figure out a time to schedule. We have a few people have applied, and we've already appointed them, including Landon, who's really been at the tip of the spear on this. So I really appreciate all the work that he's done. And so the film committee, we submitted our application by the deadline, which is August 30th. And so we have the application in, which includes, the draft of the ordinance. They knew that it had been introduced. I'll let them know about, I'll give them the final version. And we have, there's pictures uploaded, and if, anyone's interested, we have a meeting tomorrow night at which I will ask them to show us what all that they presented. It's mainly pictures of various places in town that obviously gave us permission to use that as part of our application. And we should know, the last time I had a conversation with them, meaning the Film Commission, is that they will do the awards probably sometime in November, because they are processing applications. And with respect to, as folks know, there was members of the film committee, along with others, did film a trailer or a pilot for a television series that they will be pitching. They are in post-production now, and the goal is to, I think they want to have a screening of this sometime in October, and I'll keep folks posted about that. And I think we'll have members from the State Film Commission will be there, because they've been very supportive of this initiative. And with that, I think that's all the updates that I have.
Mayor, if I just wanted to supplement my comments on 9.4. The clerk did provide me just a little additional information, which was that Ms. Hubbard was appointed at the reorganization as conflict counsel, but specifically for the Diamond Chip matter. So this resolution was requested by the zoning board, so that she may serve as conflict counsel for any other matters that come before the zoning board where there's a conflict for Mr. Keats. Apparently, another matter has come before the board where he has a conflict and they want to utilize Ms. Hubbard. I don't know what the other matter is.
Yeah. All right. And I do actually have, I'll just cover it under my committee. I do have two additional people that I want to, who've applied for the Film Commission, that I would like a motion to appoint them to the Film Commission. The first is Danielle Wilkinson. She's a Sparta resident with over 2 decades of experience in production. She worked for Bravo, a whole bunch of other, primarily in what they call unscripted or reality television, but she has a lot of production experience. The next person is, and you will probably recognize this name, Scott Landy. Scott has been doing films since 2007. He did it he began back when he was at Sparta High School. He's led film and video production for over a decade. He also had a small business called Trifecta Cinema, and he's written screenplays, competed in festivals, and he's volunteered with the Long Island International Film Festival. So and he's also done a tremendous amount of work on that trailer that I just mentioned. So these are two really outstanding people. I'm just been kind of blown away with the quality of talent that we've gotten on this committee. So again, my motion is to appoint Scott Landy and Daniel Wilkinson to the Film Committee.
I will second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So welcome Sean and welcome Danielle. The next is I need to make an appointment as the student liaison to the Environmental Commission, as the student that we had is now matriculated and moved on. And this gentleman is named John Groff. He's a senior at Pope John. He's been applied and been recommended by the Environmental Commission. He's a senior. He's also, I found out, a former graduate of our Junior Police Academy, so I'm very happy to see that that idea of service has stayed with him. And he's also a lacrosse player for lacrosse. So I will be appointing John Groff as the student liaison to the Environmental Commission. And finally, the next is we needed to fill the alternate 2 position on the zoning board. So, which we had someone, I believe Kate Madison was in that position. She resigned quite some time ago, and that position just went unfilled. Upon the recommendation of the chairman of the zoning board, we have a woman by the name of Jennifer Pinaha. I'm probably butchering her name.
Panaha.
Pinaha.
Panaha.
And so she has applied formally, so I'd make a motion that she be appointed to the zoning board. And my understanding, she'll be alternate 2.
I move that we appoint Jennifer Piniaha to the
May
zoning
I-
board as alternate 2.
Yeah, may I have a second, please?
So let me hold on one second.
Okay.
So we've had this issue, not to be the bearer of bad news, but we've had this issue about motioning and appointments to these boards and conflicts and all that kind of stuff. So is it better if maybe one of the other, like, one of us makes that motion and maybe, I mean, Tom, I'll defer to you, but I know this has been a hot topic before, and I just want to make sure that we don't have any issues moving forward. I mean, I don't know any involvement or anything like that, but, I mean, I'm fine with it. I'll say aye, yes.
Yeah, I don't see it as an avoidable
Okay. Perfect.
step at this point, so
All
I
right,
think. you
just
can
want to ask,
proceed.
so you have the motion on the floor?
Yeah, we just need a.
Yeah, but first, you just need
Need a
a
I'll
second.
second for Jennifer Panaha.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, she is on the zoning board. Next up, we were going to have a discussion about cannabis. As folks know, and you've probably seen in Sussex County around, a lot of towns have granted, there's, the licensures for not just dispensing, but all the various ones, which are cultivation, manufacture, wholesale, distribution, retail, and delivery. At this point, there's nothing, that there's no ordinance in place, there's nothing, we've seen drafts of various ones to give council an idea of what's the scope of, these type of ordinances. I know that, speaking for me personally, the way I look at this is that, I hear a lot about the need for ratables and for, funding the budget. And as folks know, one of the benefits of cannabis is, unlike even other ratables, is that there's a 2% off the gross receipts. And that 2% of gross receipts happens at every various class. And so as you go down what I call the chain of distribution, from cultivation to manufacture to wholesale to distributing to retail, the 2% is hit at each level. And so there is significant revenue to be had by the town. I think the latest figures I saw, I think the average is about $465,000 So that's also part of what's driving this, at least for me. Another part is this is not as intense of a use as other types of businesses. If you look at some of the traffic generation for these, it's relatively low compared to, say, a drive-through restaurant like a Chipotle or others. And so, again, as we go forward with, reviewing our master plan and tightening up some of the zones, there's obviously going to be pushback about where we can actually put businesses and how that's going to, decrease our ability to get ratables. This is one, at least in my view, may alleviate some of the pressure that we have to push for certain developments that we may or may not need if we were getting revenue from other sources. But again, we're just in discussion. I think as we go forward, I know for me, there's issues involving safety. There's issues involving, intensity of use. These are all things that should be considered. And I hope that as we go forward, we will have a good discussion with it, that it will be data-driven and not simply, people are more than willing to express their concerns. But I know for me, it's helpful to actually have data to back it up, because I think that on both sides, right? If, your view is, my cousin Vinny and Lyndon, this opened up and he saw a lot of problems with it. That's anecdotal. That's not all that helpful. Same thing with, someone who has a study sponsored by, say, Bill and Ted's excellent cannabis studies that's poorly sourced. That's not going to be helpful for anyone. There's plenty of data on here. There's plenty of studies that you can find, the relationship between these and crime, et cetera. Those are all things that, at least for me, I will consider. So with that, that's my sort of preview of this. We wanted to give the public an opportunity to speak. There'll be more. There'll be other opportunities. Again, that will all be taken in with us. And, as we decide and go forward with ordinances, the point is to take that in, and that will go into, the ordinances as, if the case may be, they get introduced. So with that long preface, is anyone from the public wishing to be heard about possible cannabis ordinances in Sparta?
Jenny Derricks, 27 Mount Pleasant Road. I'm speaking as a mother of 4 boys, as a 15-year member of the Municipal Alliance, 14 years as executive on the PTO at the high school. Obviously not any longer, but there's nothing I could say there's nothing that could be said that would convince me that this is a good idea for Sparta. Statistics are available from SAM, which is a smart approaches to marijuana, with a national clearinghouse. I will happily share this information with you. When I saw this on the agenda, one of the first things I did was reach out to Caitlin at the Center for Prevention for some resources, and she sent me a good deal, but that was just today, so I haven't had a chance to digest all of it. Couple cute little pieces of data. 30% of marijuana users have some form of marijuana disorder. There's a misunderstanding that there's no downside to using marijuana. There's no long-term harm, but that's not the case. And again, that's from a National Institute on Drug Abuse study. The use before the age of 18 increases the likelihood of marijuana use disorder 7-fold. Legalization is associated with 25% increase in marijuana use disorder among 12 to 17-year-olds. And I could go on and on. I will just instead share this with you. Some of the statistics about accidents. 89%, this is in Colorado, where there's a good deal of data because they've had legal marijuana there for a long time. 89% of fatal accidents, the drivers tested positive for THC. 33% tested at a certain level, and so on and so on. 1 in 4 road deaths in Colorado are involve marijuana use. 1 in 4. That's a 2020,
1 in 4
1 in 4 fatal accidents.
fatal accidents. I couldn't hear what you said.
I'm sorry,
Okay.
I'm reading while I'm talking.
No, it's fine.
So that's a 2020 study, so that's fairly recent, but I'm sure that it can be updated. Teen drivers who use marijuana report driving under the influence. In 2013, it was 11%. This is in Colorado again. In 2020, it was up to over 20%. And so on. There's 70 to 80% of all marijuana sold in state legal dispensaries in California were produced and grown illegally. So this isn't a panacea. Ratables, yes. How about we get the brownfield online? Let's get that done instead, where we know we have $450,000 coming to us every year. That doesn't put any of our citizens at risk. You don't see anybody here clamoring from the community. I know it just went out on the agenda, but as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing that you could possibly say that would make this worthwhile. I'm sure I'll have more to say later.
Can I share some insight too? Or-
Yeah, and I'll just say that it's also, I mean, we're gonna dive deeply into it, as someone who does, work with studies and everything like that. It's always important to be careful of the, correlation causation fallacy, and that, some of these studies, and both pro and con. I've seen, significant, just because one event happens and something goes up doesn't mean that event that happened caused it. And so the idea is, people are going to die from, traffic accidents. They didn't increase just because you increased the legalization of pot. You have to show a direct relationship between the passing of the ordinance, and the increase. The fact that there are two things that happen simultaneously in time doesn't mean one thing caused another, right? So, we're going to have a good debate on it, but I think that people need to be careful, pro and con, about when they cite studies, whether what you're saying is actually a proximate cause of it. The fact that it could be, there'd be a whole host of reasons why accidents go up. So we're going to have that kind of debate. So with that, I'll yield the floor to Councilwoman Quinn.
So just a couple of things, and I'll let everyone draw their own conclusion. I'm just a big proponent of throwing facts out there, and so first and foremost, I think I'll share okay, so in different places where they thought this would be a great idea, okay, anytime, the first time you do something, you're going to learn from that. But statistically, I'd be more comfortable to have the chief here, to be able to really tell us in his perspective from law enforcement, crime rates, all kinds of different things like that. We don't have him here tonight, but I know he'll be here at different meetings to really walk through factual information. The other thing I think that people need to be aware of is, this whole weed manufacturing and all these different things was sort of branded as this shiny new widget and then spun to say, oh no, the municipality can make a lot of money. Well, it can cost the municipality a lot as well. And I'm not just talking about money. There are different things that also we need to be aware of. So there is no other business in town, in a municipality, where the municipality actually gets revenue off of what is grown or what is shipped or what is moved. So the research that I did showed that municipalities then need to hire or assign a person in the municipality the job of working with that company to make sure that what they are producing, distributing, selling, whatever it is, we are actually getting the money we're supposed to get. So yes, you might make 2%, but it might cost you 3 or 4 or 5% to hire somebody and then make sure you're getting that money. The other thing is I've done a little bit of research that suggests, I'm not saying yes or no, I'm saying it suggests that now Big Pharma has a renewed interest in marijuana because a lot of people are moving away from pharmaceutical products and moving into medication through these different marijuana whether it's gummies or whatever it might be, that people want more holistic solutions. They're moving more in that direction. Anytime big pharma gets involved with anything, my opinion is I get a little nervous about that. I know the state also stands to make a lot of money off that. Making money for the state is not my problem. But I think it's very interesting because the other thing that appears to be a reality is that right now, land that is assessed as farmland, okay, so land that is assessed as farmlands, the rate is pennies on the dollar. Pennies on the dollar for land that is currently used or currently deemed to be farmland use. However, the state apparently looks at marijuana cultivation as agricultural use. So not only could you be taking the property off the tax rolls, but you could have companies coming in here paying basically no taxes, putting up, and it will be a warehouse because they have to manufacture it. That's how depending on what you go along with. And so the business that's making all the money will be paying nothing in taxes because according to the state, the research that I looked at says that cultivating this marijuana indoors is a use for agriculture. So I think that's something to be mindful of, when we
Well,
start talking
2%
about
would
this.
apply.
What?
The 2% applies to the cultivation.
But
So
it
it's not
doesn't-
like no tax. They would pay. So if they generate $1 million and cultivated on that farm, you have 2% of $1 million. I'm not saying that's
If you
the
can-
number, but
first of all, if you can
it's just
prove
not
it.
accurate to say there's not any revenue coming in. It's the 2%.
Okay, but I didn't say there's no revenue coming in. What I said was the property, the tax money coming in off of the property would be done, that tax would not be a regular commercial rate. If it is right now zoned as agricultural, a big company could come in, put up whatever kind of building they want. The state says that's okay. They still pay farm taxes, not commercial, and they are making a lot of money, and the residents are not. So I just want to point that out. And again, everyone should do their own research. I've started doing quite a lot myself. What I'm sharing with you tonight are just a couple things that wouldn't maybe necessarily just jump out to people. But I think if we look at if we're going to look at the pros and cons, we need to go all the way with it and really have discussions so that we understand the full impact of what these decisions are going to have on our residents, not just quality of life, but also, I always get nervous when people say, oh, you're going to make 2%, you're going to make 2%. First of all, 2% of what? And second of all, we have to hire somebody to even make sure we're getting any percent whatsoever. So I just want us to go into this conversation with eyes wide open, with no, it's a shiny new widget and we should go look at it. I just want to make sure that we're looking at everything. So that's why I wanted to bring those things forward tonight.
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. And like I said, we're under the deliberations phase, and I think all the issues you raised are very good, and one that I encourage people to, it's going to be some time, because we want, obviously, to have the full complement of our council here to consider it. So there'll be some time, you have our emails, send the studies, send the, if the argument is that it doesn't bring the revenue that people say it is, then show us. Show us and not just tell us. So, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, just a few short comments at this phase. I'm looking forward to I'm sure a long and healthy and interesting debate on this. Just wanted to highlight again for those who may not be aware of the different classes that we could wind up discussing. So there are 7 classes. One is usage, of course, and that is that's not in our control. The 6 classes that a town could consider, of course, are cultivation, manufacture, wholesale, distribution, retail, and then delivery. So that's just sort of the landscape of what we could be speaking about over the coming months. 2 points I wanted to make is one is about the planning board. I feel very strongly that the planning board needs to weigh in and be involved in this process. Input in general on this, also around the zones, locations, any additional requirements or conditions that we might want to think about. And then also the master plan. It was referred to a little earlier, but the master plan update process, which by its nature is going to have lots of public input from residents and multiple stakeholders around our community. And out of that will come vision, priorities, and around land use and the future of our town. So we want to make sure that this conversation we might have here in this forum is consistent with what's coming through that process and potentially a future master plan. The second point is something I try to keep in mind. It's that New Jersey voters and Sparta residents voting in 2020 to decriminalize recreational use of cannabis, so to decriminalize it, doesn't necessarily equate to voting that they want cannabis businesses and the industry in our community. I think it's just important to differentiate that, no matter what side of the viewpoint you have on this. So just really all that means is that we have to be very data-driven, thoughtful, and cautious in our approach to this, in our consideration. And then we don't equate those two, but we think through this just carefully, and I'm looking forward to, I'm sure there'll be lots of healthy conversation over the coming weeks and months on all these uses. That's all I have to share right now.
All right, thank you. I think that will close our public discussion of that. We're now at the final public comment period. This is what I call the grab bag, anything that you want to bring before the council. Please do so. Just state your name for the record, and please be cognizant of the 5-minute limit.
Mayor, just before we move into that, just for unfinished open business, I think it's important that we really just mention again, very sincere congratulations to the officers that were promoted. There was a great ceremony, a promotion ceremony that was held this last week at Sparta High School. It was very well done. It's always great to see the force come out. So congratulations to Captain Snyder, Lieutenant Antonello, Lieutenant Chomp, Sergeant Elig, Sergeant Guido, and Sergeant Lynott. So congratulations to them on their promotions. And thank you all in our Sparta Police Department for your commitment and service.
Thank you, and I thank you for remembering that. It was, a wonderful ceremony. What a talented police force, and I will include the wife of one of the police officers, who's a heck of a baker. If you went to the VFW celebration after the fact, you saw this amazing display that she made. It was incredible. So again, it was a wonderful event, and thank you. And there is another unfinished item that I needed to include. I just need to find it. We do need to recognize when we have fantastic departments in the township, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And we received a letter on behalf of a constituent who was praising our water department. I just need to pull up the letter itself. Just give me a minute and I will read it. Okay, this is addressed to me August 30th from Jeff Parrott, and folks may recognize that name as our county clerk. Dear Mayor Clark, I hope this letter finds you well. I am writing to commend the outstanding service provided by the Sparta Water Utility Department, particularly two of its employees, Brian and Ed. Fortunately, he didn't get their last names. I bet.
Brian Strawaway and Ed Jastro.
Okay. Recently, I had the pleasure of dealing with Brian and Ed when I needed to have my water hookup located. I was extremely impressed with their quick response and professionalism. In a time when exceptional service can sometimes be hard to come by, Brian and Ed's professionalism truly stood out. They are excellent representatives of the Sparta Water Utility Department. I wanted to take a moment to express my gratitude and acknowledge the positive impact that employees like Brian and Ed have on our community. Please pass along my sincere thanks to them and the rest of the department. Jeff Parrott. So again, thank you to Brian and Ed for delivering outstanding service, and it obviously got noticed. And so with that, we can go to the last public comment section.
Hi again, Barbara Gomes, 10 Links Court. I have two questions. One is the open space survey results. Has that been made public yet? Does the public have those results?
It's on the website, is that correct?
The
The
survey
community
results
survey,
are- Right.
yeah,
But the open space plan, I think, is
still under work,
Just
still in the
about
works.
getting ready
The
to
plan
be-
itself,
The bigger picture?
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So our group had promoted that to make sure that people had the opportunity to participate. So we're very interested in seeing the results. So I'll look for that on the website.
So you're talking about the community survey, the feedback survey, I think?
For the
Not the
open-
overall finalized open space plan, right?
It was the community survey that's supposed to feed that.
right.
Yeah, so the survey is done. I think it is on our
I think it is.
website
You know,
already.
if you just email me, I'll connect you to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
but the open space plan, the final master document is still in the works.
Is still in
It's
the
using that
works.
input.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. And then in terms of the discussion on the cannabis, I mean, there's a lot of work and a lot of research here. I feel more comfortable hearing that it's going to be part of a bigger picture planning document. So is that something that I was a little confused about the process. Like, it seems like we're going to have a discussion here at town council, but it really should be at the master planning.
Not
planning board.
necessarily. Yeah, I mean, we're the ultimate authority on, there is a zoning component to it, but we have to pass the zoning, then the planning board will decide, with input, what zones, if it is approved at all, whether it would go. But it doesn't necessarily go through, it doesn't wellspring from the planning board and then come to us. They're separate.
It can go either way, right? Like it could be looked at by a group of volunteers that volunteer to do exactly that and see what should fit in our zones and.
No,
So-
they could come here.
Yeah, people can come here. So what also happens is, depending on where it starts, ultimately, the process is this. We have discussions here, and then from the discussions and from our discussions and what we're allowed to do, we implement, let's say we put together, you hear us when we introduce an ordinance, right? Any ordinance that we introduce that has to do with any kind of land use by the rules of the game, has to go back to the planning board.
Right.
In addition to that, the council also can say, hey, we're going to charge the planning board with, hey, taking a look at this, looking at where they think it fits in on the master plan, or if it does. But regardless, if the council does go to planning separately and say, hey, we're looking at your opinion on this to feed our decision, that's one way that it can go. So just like we're asking the public to give us an opinion, we can also reach out and charge the planning board and say, hey, we would like your input on this by, X date. But by law, any ordinance that we here introduce, in between when it is introduced and when it is heard in a formal hearing, it has to go to the planning board to be checked against whether it is in line or in step with the existing master plan. And we need their input before it can move forward. So by default, the planning board would be involved, whether we proactively ask them for their input or whether we make the decision to put together some kind of ordinance, it will automatically go to them. So it's not just us that will ultimately, it's the council that will approve or adopt the ordinance. However, the way we get input, and I would strongly recommend that we do start, that we not only go to the public through these forums, but also contact the planning board and say, hey, we're asking for you guys to have a discussion and give us your thoughts. I think there's a lot of stakeholder engagement around this topic. I think people feel very strongly on either side. I don't think there's a lot of people that I have spoken to anyway that are kind of middle of the road, like, yeah, we don't care. It seems like people either want it, or they don't. So I really think that it's going to be tricky to really make sure that everybody is heard. And maybe we need to do some kind of online survey to get the community's overall general response, try to get people involved. I don't know what that's going to look like, but I think as a council, we need to figure out who are the stakeholders we're going to reach out to, how are we going to gather that information, and things like that.
If I could comment, I would just say that if there's some big issues that you guys grapple with, and there is a planning document for like the regional Highlands area that you can look at, that can help with not only this issue, but with warehouse sprawl and also with the affordable housing issue. I mean, these are some big things that we need to be talking about. So adding this in at this time and not under that whole big umbrella at the planning board is a concern to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb.
Anyone else from the public wishing to be heard?
Hello, Jenny Derricks, tap into Sparta. Whoops, sorry. Just had a couple quick things. Just going back to the walking path conversation, Chris, thank you for that big report. Kurt Morris, as president of the Board of Ed, and Dan Girello as liaison to the Board of Ed, have been talking about that plan to connect the two schools for for at least a year. And I know that there was some deep discussion about that, and I just put that out there. Edison Park was a tennis court at one point,
Yes.
so maybe that could be a pickleball court.
Well, the problem is that, what I'm being told is the problem is we cannot put pickleball there because it is too loud. Because pickleball is different than tennis in that it's very, very loud. And so Jean has very strong opinions around where those
Okay.
courts should go.
But my kids are asking for nets to go back, because it was tennis and basketball. So if we could put a net or nets back, that would be great. I appreciate the update on the information provided to the town by Steve Levinson, reports and so forth. Do we have similar responses or similar reporting from John Drake?
I haven't seen any.
Can we get that? We're paying him to be the liaison between the business community and the planning zoning departments. What are we getting for our money? Do we know? Have there been hands held and applications made and people haven't walked away, or is that not the case, or what? Anyway, just maybe we can get some information there.
Okay.
I did mention a few moments ago the brownfield. Do we have any update on that?
The engineer, Corey Stoner, and I are meeting with their engineers to go over more of that.
They being the SEC?
Yes, CEP.
CEP, sorry.
Yes. It is moving forward, although slowly, slower than I'd like, but we are making ground. And as I had told you, the holdup is the mitigation and the state. And we're pursuing that and pushing that. And I'm eager to get to this end just as much as you are, Jenny. You know that, so.
So when you're meeting with them, you have something set up, or this is theoretical?
I just today, I was receiving calendar invite dates to try and put a date together next week to discuss.
And is that to discuss mitigation plans, or?
No, believe it or not, at the same time that you have the mitigation, CEP has really invested a lot in the actual installation of the solar field. They want to get going too. They're eager, and as soon as they get the green light, they want to jump on it, which I'm all for also. There's not a whole lot of work that you have to do out there to put this solar field up, other than that little area of mitigation that needs to be closed in. There's very little fill needed already because we've already got a lot out there. It's just some minor grading that needs to be done, and they could start installation. But before all that happens, they do have to present their site plan to the planning board, which is actually what that meeting is about.
Okay. So you're discussing with the state the mitigation piece directly?
Yeah, we have our environmental scientist consultant on behalf because of the mitigation and the wetlands, and we're working on trying to do a land donation.
Okay. Thank you. Reaching way back, to February of this year, Resolution 99, which concerned the Water Quality Management Plan amendment, was the council presented with the option of including concerns about the manner in which Diamond Chip was presenting their calculations on their third application? Or was it just given as is, which with no discussion of whether or not the calculation was being made using the correct statute?
With that, no, I was, in my
That's a
recollection.
detailed question, I'm sorry, it's
Yeah,
going
no,
back
I mean,
a
I'll give
while.
you a direct answer, no. I saw the article that was written about the calculation for the water quality management amendment. And be honest that I just assumed that the calculation was correct because I wasn't told otherwise.
Okay,
So, no.
thank you, that's all I have. Oh, one other thing, Class 3, just to put a point on it, Class 3 only gets 1%. Delivery you can't say no to, and delivery doesn't get anything in terms of tax.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah. Anyone else? Right.
One final question. The AO Polymer report, we said at the last meeting that was going online. Is that online?
It is online. It's under the engineering webpage.
Perfect. Okay, just wanted to follow up.
It's live right now.
All right, thank you so much.
And with that, I will make a motion to adjourn. And may I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Just in time for the debate.
Got a whole lot of financial questions.